everyone. It's been a long time since I've not created a YouTube video. You're probably thinking that I'm lost in the woods, but no, I'm still here, still alive. So today the topic that I'm going to discuss about is something that a lot of young people and young adults struggle with, including myself, and I just thought that it would be good to share some of my own experience and how I have been able to deal with it. So the topic that I'm going to share with you today is about the struggles that we have in our minds, the thoughts that we have in our minds. Many a times we think that, oh, it's just a thought, I'm not really harming anyone. But actually when we start to ponder on those thoughts and entertain those thoughts, eventually they start to develop into, it starts to show up in our words, in our actions, and eventually we will end up harming other people around us. So let me share with you some of my own examples which I've been experiencing for the last few weeks and months, and it's been a battle, but with the help of God, by the grace of God and the prayers of so many people who pray for me, I've been able to realize it, and I'm working on it. I'm not saying that I've won the battle and I have become the holiest person, but it's still a struggle, and I just want to give you hope that don't feel down when such things do happen. Let me share a few examples of my own. So many a times I've had this feeling that nobody cares for me, I'm just alone, just feeling that feeling of despair, that feeling that what am I doing in this world, and it just randomly comes to you. Some other times I will get thoughts of an incident that happened in the past, and how somebody hurt me, and that would just come flooding in, and then for the next 1 hour I'm probably like having this whole dialogue of what I would say to that person and how I would fight back, and I would plan this whole script of what I'm going to say and hurt that person more. Today we are living in a world surrounded by social media. So we have Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, where we are constantly bombarded with what's happening in the life of others. So when I look at the shiny, rosy life of people, some are getting married, some are traveling the world, some are getting a new job, and then what happens is that stirs an emotion of jealousy, of feeling that why is this not happening in my life? That element of comparing my life to others, that kicks in. Another common temptation that a lot of young people have is the emotional fantasy. So the moment you find this, if I find this nice guy, the next thing I'm daydreaming of is where am I, what's my wedding dress going to look like, or where am I going to go for honeymoon, or what house am I going to buy, so again entertaining those kind of thoughts, and which is not real, which is not it's not something that God has placed in my life right now. But again, these are all the temptations that I've been struggling with for the last few weeks and months, which I just thought it's important to share it out with so many young people so that it can help them as well. So all these thoughts that used to come to my mind would stir emotions of different kinds, and eventually I would respond to that in frustration, irritation, sometimes even doubting God, questioning God, and feeling upset with God, feeling upset with myself, feeling upset with other people around me. For the longest time I used to blame it on hormonal changes, but then I soon realized that this kind of thoughts and this kind of feelings was getting quite regular, so I knew it was no longer the hormonal changes that could be causing it. The worst thing that I tried to do was to deal with all these emotions on my own. Instead of running to God, I forgot that I needed God in my life, and so I started to manage all these emotions on my own by distracting myself with all the other things that this world is offering me, like going for shopping, or going and seeing a friend, or trying to distract with different things instead of dealing with it with God. And eventually what happened was I started to feel empty, and it started to feel like really drained and lethargic, feeling lacking energy, lacking that joy, that purpose in life. At that point, when I was at my lowest, I had to I had no option but to again turn back to God, and God, being merciful to us, will always respond at that moment. He's always there for us. It's never Him that runs away, but it's always us that runs away from Him, but He waits patiently for us. God reaches out to us in mysterious ways, but sometimes also through simple ways. And that's why I think having a good Christian fellowship is really important for someone who's trying to build a relationship with God. when I was going through this season of despair, I remember a friend of mine, she's a pharmacist and she's a Christian, and she used to send me lots of videos every day, mainly by Joel Austin, who's a popular pastor. But I never really got round to watching them because they were all like 31 hour long. But when I was going through this time, there was a day when I was driving back from work and feeling really low in mood. This is one thing that I realized, that my lowest point, or the devil targets us more when when our mind is empty, when we are not doing anything, when we're lazing around, when we are bored. These are the time that he enters or tries to enter into our mind. So just be really careful when you are in this kind of four situations. So I made a decision to start listening to Christian videos whenever I had some spare time. So when I was driving to work or back from work, or when I'm at home and not doing anything, I would just listen to different preachers. When I was watching all these videos, I stumbled across one of the interview that Jason Everett did with Father Mark Goring, and it's called Battlefield of the Mind. If you ever get a chance, you can go on YouTube and type that, Battlefield of the Mind, and listen to that video. It's really good, especially if you're struggling with thoughts of various kinds. Sometimes I just wish that when we were growing up, somebody gave us like a training or a crash course on how to live an adult life. It would have been much easier probably to deal with some of the things that we are dealing with right now. But anyways, God has His ways, and we learn the hard way, but this is all part of our formation, I guess. So yeah, so here it is. So I'm just going to share with you a few points which has really helped me after watching that video. First thing that he shared was that temptation comes to everyone, and in that moment when it comes, we don't need to panic or be restless or just be frightened. And I think that's something that I was doing wrong. I used to get all panicked and thinking like, why God, I'm trying to follow you so wholeheartedly, why am I being tempted all the time, why me? But what he said is that just to acknowledge the temptation and to stay calm. The other point that he shared about was that when we are faced with such temptations, we need to know how to use our weapons to overcome and fight those battles. I will share with you, what are the weapons to use to fight off the temptations in a minute. The other beautiful thing that he shared about temptation was that temptation is actually a way of training our spiritual muscles. So the closer we are getting in a relationship with God, the harder it gets. So he gave us a good example of when someone is new starts the gym and they want to have a good physique, and so they start with they want to do weightlifting. So they start with like smaller weights, probably like 5 kilos or something, and then as the weeks goes by and they get stronger, they want to use bigger weights because they obviously want to get bigger muscles. So similarly in our spiritual life, temptations are a way to grow our spiritual muscle. I'm just going to share with you the 4 points that I have been practicing in my own life and has been really fruitful in helping me overcome this battlefield of the mind. I think the battle of the mind is the hardest because nobody sees it and nobody needs to know it. So it's all inside of you, and there is a great danger of harboring various kinds of thoughts and just letting it be inside of you. So if that's happening in your life, know that it's very, very dangerous and it will only lead to your downfall. So before it starts to get too dangerous, I would say start practicing these 4 points and pray to God to give you the desire to fight off this temptation when it comes. Point number 1. So what I start doing is to acknowledge this temptation when it comes. Sometimes I think some of the emotions that's triggered inside me, or some of the situation that happened, it reminded me that maybe I need healing in this area. So now what I start doing is I pray for that person, whoever comes to my mind. Or if somebody comes to my mind and I just feel really angry about that person, instead of creating this whole script of what I'm going to tell that person, I actually pray for that person that God will bless them. And that has given me a lot of peace, because I'm no longer having that guilt that I want to kill this person, but instead it gives me that peace that okay, I can actually pray for this person now. Point number 2, take it in prayer. This is something that I love doing because every morning when I wake up, I set aside at least half an hour in the morning to just be with God, and just in that time I tell Him everything that I want to share, like everything that happened the day before, and how somebody irritated me, and how I was feeling angry, and how I was feeling jealous, and how I have this pride in me that when someone praised me for something, just be free to God. And I think I realized that when I started to do more and more of it, I started to experience a sense of freedom that I can actually be myself in front of God, because He already knows our heart. He knows what we're going through. He can see things that we do. So there's no hiding anyways. So you might as well just share everything with Him. And for me, that's like the best moment of my day, when I can actually sit in front of God and just tell Him exactly how I feel. And in that moment, I ask God to just, to take it and do something with it, because right now I can't do anything. I've tried in the past to manage things on my own, and like I shared earlier, it only led to me feeling more frustrated and empty. So I've learned that that's not the right route to go down. So instead, I start to bring it to God in prayer. Point number 3. Use the gift that the church has given us, the sacraments. So if you're a Catholic and you're watching this, I strongly recommend, the sacrament of confession and the sacrament of receiving Jesus, the Holy Eucharist. For me, these two have been like my powerhouse. So every time I feel down and I feel like, I've gone through all these experiences, I'm able to go and just ask for forgiveness, and I mention every single point, the person's name, what exactly happened, and why I felt everything. And when I come out of that confession room, I feel like a big weight is just lifted off me. So if you're going through that, I strongly recommend, it's the sacrament of confession. It's a beautiful gift, and receive Jesus as many times as you can. Anytime you get an opportunity. Now, anytime I get an opportunity, I'll go and receive Jesus, because for me, that's the closest thing I can get to heaven while I'm living on earth. And point number 4, which is what I've been practicing more recently, is using the Word of God, not just in the morning when I pray, but actually writing it down and repeating that 100 times throughout the day. And what a big difference that has made in my life. I can't explain to you how much that has changed the way I interact with others, the way I see things, the way I deal with people. What I do now is I write a word of God on a sticky note, and I stick it to my phone, and then when I get to work, I'll put it on my office desk, and I will say the word of God as many times throughout the day. And in fact, I've even started to pray for the patients so when I'm reading, the patient's notes, and I see that, this patient is struggling with mental health issues, I use the Word of God and I pray for that person. Like the other day, the Word of God was, create in me a clean heart, O God, and put a new and right spirit within me. And I felt the urge to pray for this person who I was going to speak to. So I just prayed for this person, that create in this person, and I took the person's name, a clean heart, O God, and put a new and right spirit within me. And I believe that when I'm praying this Word of God, that it's alive and active, and it's going to make a change in my own life, in the life of the person I'm praying for, and in the situations around me. So, remember that the devil will try to get into your mind first, and once he's in your mind, then it will get to your heart. And that's something that I have discovered and experienced in my own life. So I think I'm gonna, I've made a firm decision not to let that happen ever again. But obviously, we are humans and we fall, but that's why we have the sacrament of confession to run to. So I just want to encourage you all through this video, if you're watching, that if you're going through the same experience, know that God is not going to, punish you. He wants you to come back to Him, to use these kind of tools that's been given to us, to return to Him, and know that you are not alone. I struggle with it. I'm pretty sure that a lot more people struggle with it. And if you do want to share, with me your own struggles, get in touch. It'll be nice to know that I'm not alone, and there are many people like that who are going through. So if you feel like this video has made a difference and it has helped you, do share it with others, and and continue to support me by sharing this video and liking, subscribing to the channel. Thank you very much for watching. Take care. God bless. Bye bye.